The sleek Earth Defense Fleet ship Defender cut through the darkness of space, its engines humming with power. Commander Jack Wilson stood on the bridge, his broad shoulders tense as he watched the alien vessel approach. This was humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Council. "They're hailing us, sir," said Tom, his communications officer. The young man's face was pale but excited. Jack nodded. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing a thin, tall being with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. The alien wore what looked like formal robes with strange symbols. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and wish to establish formal relations with your world. Welcome to Earth space, Ambassador. I am Commander Wilson of the Earth Defense Fleet. We're honored to meet you." The alien tilted its head, blinking slowly. "Our scans confirm what our distant observations suggested. You truly evolved on this planet. A Class 12 Deathworld." Jack frowned. "Deathworld. Earth is our home." Krell made a sound like soft bells, perhaps laughter. "Commander, by galactic standards, your planet is extremely dangerous. The gravity alone would crush most spacefaring species. Your atmospheric pressure, radiation levels, temperature swings, and aggressive biodiversity are considered hazardous by nearly all Council races." As the conversation continued, Jack learned that humans were considered something of a miracle or a monster, depending on which alien you asked. Most species had evolved on gentle worlds with stable environments, weak gravity, and limited predators. "We would like to invite Earth to join the Galactic Council with provisional membership," Krell said. "Though I must warn you, many species will avoid direct contact. They find Deathworlders unsettling." 3 days later, Jack found himself in a meeting with Earth's leaders, explaining what he had learned. "They're afraid of us," he said to the assembled officials. "Not because of our weapons or technology. We're far behind them there. They're afraid of us because we survived Earth." President Bell leaned forward. "What does this mean for Earth's position?" "It means we're entering a complicated political situation," Jack replied. "The Council has thousands of member species, but only a few dozen evolved on what they call Deathworlds. These species form a minority faction." Jack pulled up images the aliens had shared. Worlds with gentle breezes, mild temperatures, and predictable passive life forms. Then he showed Earth, storms, earthquakes, extreme temperatures, and countless predators. "Our world has shaped us in ways they can barely understand. Our muscles, bones, immune systems, they're all far stronger than most aliens. What's normal for us is terrifying to them." The defense minister frowned. "Do they see us as a threat?" "Some do. Others are curious. The Council has asked for a human representative to attend their next summit. I've been selected due to my first contact experience." Nobody spoke for a moment as the implications sank in. Earth wasn't just joining a galactic community. It was entering as an oddity, a world that should not have produced intelligent life by the standards of the galaxy. "Commander Wilson," the president finally said, "you'll represent humanity at this summit. Find out where we stand, and discover why some of these aliens seem so surprised by us. Not just because we're from a death world, but something else. Something Ambassador Krell wasn't saying." Jack nodded, already wondering what secrets waited among the stars. Little did he know that Earth's classification as a death world was just the beginning of a truth that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. As he left the meeting, his communicator pinged with coordinates for the rendezvous with the Council transport ship. In 1 week, he would leave his dangerous, beautiful homeworld to represent humanity among the stars, and perhaps to uncover why so many advanced species feared the planet that humans simply called home. Jack stepped off the alien transport ship and onto the massive space station called Harmony. His eyes widened as he took in the enormous central hub stretching before him. Thousands of different alien species moved about, their bodies in all shapes, sizes, and colors. Some floated in the air, others slithered along the floor, and a few even phased in and out of visibility. "Commander Wilson," the voice called. Jack turned to see a small, four-armed alien with green skin approaching. "I am Guide Morrow. I will show you to your quarters and explain the summit procedures." Jack nodded and followed Morrow through the crowded station. He noticed many aliens moving away from him, their body language showing clear signs of fear or discomfort. "They are not used to Deathworlders," Morrow explained. "Your muscular density, quick movements, and even your breathing sound threatening to many Council species." They entered a section marked with red symbols. "This is the high-gravity, high-pressure area," Morrow said. "It is where Deathworld species stay." The air felt thicker here, more like Earth. Jack's shoulders relaxed slightly as they passed through a security checkpoint. "Your quarters are here. You will meet your neighbors soon. The summit begins tomorrow." After Morrow left, Jack explored his new living space. It was simple but comfortable. As he unpacked his few belongings, a loud thud came from outside his door. He opened it to find a massive, rock-like being picking itself up from the floor. Its body looked like roughly cut stone with glowing orange cracks running through it. "Sorry about that," the being said, its voice deep and rumbling. "These corridors are smaller than I'm used to. I'm Rock, from Granitar, another Class 10 Deathworlder. Jack Wilson, from Earth, Class 12, apparently." Rock's glowing eyes widened. "A Class 12. I've never met one of your kind before. You must join our gathering tonight. All the Deathworlders meet before the summit starts." That evening, Jack found himself in a large common room with about 20 other species, all from worlds considered dangerous by Council standards. Besides Rock, he met Talia, a methane breather whose home planet had toxic storms that would kill most species instantly. "We Deathworlders stick together," Talia explained, her voice coming through a translator. Her body was covered in thick scales, and her four eyes blinked independently. "The Council needs us for dangerous missions and resource gathering, but they keep us at arm's length in politics." Jack listened as the others shared stories of their homeworlds. He was surprised to learn that humans were considered unusually adaptable even among Deathworlders. "Most of us have specific adaptations," said a tall, thin alien named Drez. "Rock can withstand crushing pressure. Talia is immune to most toxins. But humans, you adapt to almost anything. That makes the Council nervous." The next morning, Jack entered the grand meeting hall. Thousands of delegates sat in rising tiers around a central platform. The air was thin here, and the gravity felt weak to Jack. Many of the aliens looked fragile, with thin limbs and delicate features. The head of the Council, a tall being called High Speaker Lox, began the summit with formal greetings. Jack noticed how slowly and carefully Lox moved, how all the dominant species seemed to value deliberate, gentle movements. Halfway through the opening ceremony, a loud explosion rocked the chamber. Part of the ceiling collapsed, and chaos erupted. Most delegates froze in panic or moved sluggishly in the confusion. Jack's body reacted instantly. He leaped forward, his earthborn muscles and reflexes carrying him toward a group of trapped delegates. With strength that would be ordinary on Earth, but was extraordinary here, he lifted a fallen beam, allowing 3 small aliens to escape. As smoke filled the room, Jack continued to help, his human body handling the stress with ease. He noticed the other Deathworlders also acting while most of the Council species were overwhelmed. When it was over and the injured were being treated, Jack caught many aliens looking at him differently. Fear was still there, but now mixed with something else. Wonder, and perhaps respect. "You moved without hesitation," said a voice behind him. Jack turned to see a tall, slender alien in official robes. "I am Investigator Lorne. We need to speak about what happened here today." As Jack followed Lorne from the chamber, he couldn't help but feel that this attack was no accident. And somehow, Earth might be at the center of it all. Investigator Lorne's office was sparse and clean. The tall, slender alien moved with fluid grace as he gestured for Jack to sit down. Jack noticed that Lorne didn't seem as afraid of him as most other council species. "Commander Wilson, thank you for your actions today. You saved many lives." Jack nodded. "Just doing what anyone would do." "Not anyone," Lorne said, his large purple eyes blinking slowly. "Only a Deathworlder could have reacted so quickly and with such strength. That is why I wanted to speak with you." Lorne activated a holographic display showing footage of the explosion. "This was not an accident. Our initial investigation suggests it was a targeted attack." "Terrorists?" Jack asked. "We believe it was carried out by a radical faction called the Purists. They oppose including Deathworld species in the Council. They believe that only those evolved in peaceful environments deserve to share in galactic governance." Jack frowned. "So they targeted the summit because Earth was being officially recognized." "Perhaps." Lorne paused, seeming to consider his next words carefully. "But there is something unusual about the attack. The explosives were placed near the Earth delegation specifically." This caught Jack's attention. "You think Earth was the primary target. But why? We just joined the Council. We're hardly a threat to anyone." Lorne's expression was hard to read. "That is what we must discover. I would like you to help with the investigation. Your physical capabilities and different perspective could be valuable." Over the next few days, Jack worked closely with Lorne. They interviewed witnesses, examined the explosion site, and reviewed security footage. Jack was surprised by how much respect Lorne showed him, treating his suggestions seriously despite his lack of experience with council matters. During their investigation, they uncovered something strange. Several council members had unusual reactions when Earth was mentioned, not just fear of a death world, but something deeper. "Look at High Counselor Vex's reaction here," Jack said, replaying a recording of their interview. "When I mentioned Earth's solar system, his skin color changed briefly. According to your species guide, that indicates strong emotional response." Lorne nodded slowly. "You have good observational skills, Commander. Perhaps we should look deeper into Earth's standing in Council records." They accessed the Central Archives, an enormous database containing the collective knowledge of thousands of civilizations. Lorne used his high-level clearance to search for information about Earth. "This is odd," Lorne said after several hours. "There are gaps in the records. Earth should have been observed for centuries before contact, as all potential member worlds are. But the observation records are incomplete." Jack leaned forward. "Could the data have been lost accidentally?" "The Council Archive does not lose data," Lorne replied firmly. "These records were deliberately erased." They dug deeper, using Lorne's security access to examine older archives. What they found left them both shocked. There were fragments of ancient records suggesting Earth had been known to the galactic community long before official contact. "Look at this," Jack said, pointing to a partial record dating back thousands of years. "It refers to Earth, but not as a death world. It's classified differently here." Lorne's normally composed face showed clear surprise. "This classification code, it's not used anymore. But in ancient texts, it referred to a cradle world, a planet of special significance." Before they could investigate further, an alert sounded on Lorne's communication device. There had been another attack, this time targeting the archives section, where they had been working just hours before. "Someone doesn't want us looking into Earth's past," Jack said grimly. Lorne nodded. "Commander Wilson, I believe we are uncovering something that certain powerful members of the Council wish to keep hidden. Something about Earth that goes beyond its classification as a death world." As they left the archives, Jack noticed they were being followed. "We need to be careful," he whispered to Lorne. "I think someone is watching us." "Yes," Lorne agreed. "And I know where we need to look next. There's a restricted section beneath the main level of Harmony Station. If there are answers about Earth's true nature, they will be there." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. The truth about his homeworld might be more surprising than anyone had imagined. and some were willing to kill to keep it hidden. Jack and Lorne moved silently through the lower levels of Harmony Station. These corridors were dimly lit and rarely used. Lorne had used his investigator credentials to bypass several security checkpoints, but they still had to be careful. "How much further?" Jack whispered. "The restricted archive should be just ahead," Lorne replied. According to old station plans, it was built during the original construction, but later removed from official records. They reached a plain metal door with no markings. Lorne placed his hand on a hidden scanner, and after a tense moment, the door slid open. Inside was a large, circular room filled with ancient-looking technology. In the center stood a pedestal with what appeared to be a control interface. "This is older than anything I've seen in the council buildings," Jack said, looking around in wonder. Lorne nodded. "This technology dates back to what we call the first age of the council, over 10,000 years ago." Jack watched as Lorne activated the central pedestal. A holographic display appeared, showing unfamiliar symbols. "Can you read this?" Jack asked. "Some of it. It's an ancient dialect used by the founders," Lorne explained as he worked the controls. "I studied it during my investigator training." After several minutes, Lorne found what they were looking for. The room darkened, and a three-dimensional image of Earth appeared, floating in the center of the chamber. "This is Earth," Lorne said, "but not as it is now." The holographic Earth looked different. The continents were in roughly the same positions, but the climate appeared more uniform. There were fewer deserts, and the polar ice caps were smaller. According to these records, Lorne continued, Earth was once a Class 3 world. Temperate, stable, with moderate gravity and mild seasons. Ideal for life development. Jack stared in disbelief. "But that's not the Earth I know. Our world has always had extreme environments. Deserts, Arctic regions, violent storms." "Not always," Lorne said quietly. "These records indicate Earth was deliberately transformed." The hologram changed, showing a series of massive engineering projects altering Earth's orbit, tilt, and atmosphere. The changes gradually made the planet more extreme, more dangerous. "Who would do this? And why?" Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lorne brought up another set of records. These mention a species called the Gardeners. They were known for planetary engineering on a scale we can barely comprehend today. The record showed the Gardeners altering many worlds, but Earth received special attention. They increased its gravity, made its atmosphere denser, introduced more extreme weather patterns, and even manipulated its biology to create more aggressive life forms. According to this, Lorne said, Earth was transformed into a Deathworld approximately 50,000 years ago, around the time early humans were developing. Jack's mind raced. "Are you saying someone deliberately made Earth more dangerous, while my species was evolving?" "It appears so," Lorne confirmed. "And there's more." The hologram shifted again, showing a sealed chamber filled with containers. Text scrolled beside the image. "This says biological samples from pre-transformation Earth were preserved," Lorne translated. "And they're stored somewhere on this station." A map appeared, showing a location deep beneath where they now stood. "We need to find that storage facility," Jack said. "It might have proof of what Earth was really like." They followed the ancient map down to an even lower level of the station. The air here was stale, as if no one had visited in centuries. Finally, they reached a small door marked with symbols similar to those in the archive room. Inside, rows of preservation units lined the walls. Each contained samples of what looked like plant and animal tissue. Labels in the ancient language marked each one. "Look at this," Lorne said, pointing to one container. According to the label, this contains tissue from Earth mammals from before the transformation. Jack examined the genetic information displayed on a nearby screen. These look related to current Earth species, but different, less robust, more fragile. A sudden noise from the corridor made them both freeze. Footsteps were approaching. "Someone followed us," Lorne whispered. The door burst open. 3 armed figures stood in the doorway, weapons raised. "Step away from the samples," ordered the leader, a tall being wearing council security uniforms. But Jack noticed something odd about their insignia. It wasn't the standard council security emblem. "Who are you really?" Jack demanded. "You're not regular security." "That doesn't matter," the leader replied. "What matters is that you've discovered things that should remain hidden. Now step away from the console." Jack and Lorne exchanged glances. They had found something important, something worth killing for. And whoever these agents were, they were determined to keep Earth's true history buried forever. "Behind me," Jack shouted, pushing Lorne toward the back of the storage facility. With lightning-fast reflexes born from growing up on a high-gravity world, Jack flipped a heavy metal table to create cover just as the intruders fired their weapons. The shots hit the table with sizzling sounds, leaving scorch marks but not penetrating. Jack quickly assessed their options. There was another door at the back of the room, possibly an emergency exit. "We need to get out of here with proof," Jack said to Lorne. "Can you download that data?" Lorne nodded, pulling out a small device and connecting it to the nearest console. "I need 30 seconds." Jack looked around for anything he could use as a weapon. He grabbed a heavy metal rod that appeared to be some kind of maintenance tool. "I'll buy you time." Using the strength that made humans feared across the galaxy, Jack hurled a storage container toward their attackers. It crashed into the lead figure, knocking him back. The other two ducked for cover, giving Jack the opening he needed to charge forward. The attackers clearly weren't expecting a frontal assault. Jack moved with a speed and power that seemed impossible to most galactic species. He swung the metal rod, disarming one attacker before knocking the other unconscious with a quick blow. "Got it," Lorne called out. "I've downloaded everything and taken a biological sample. There's an emergency transport pad back here." They escaped using the transport pad, which beamed them to a different section of the station. Hours later, after ensuring they weren't being followed, they boarded a secure shuttle back to Earth. Lorne had used his investigator clearance to arrange an emergency diplomatic mission. "The Council needs to see this evidence," Lorne said as their ship approached Earth. "But I fear some powerful members already know the truth and have been hiding it." When they arrived on Earth, President Bell immediately called an emergency meeting with top scientists and leaders. Jack and Lorne presented their findings. According to these ancient records, Jack explained, showing the data Lorne had downloaded, Earth was once a Class 3 world with mild conditions. Approximately 50,000 years ago, it was artificially transformed into the challenging environment we know today. The room erupted with questions and disbelief. Earth's chief scientist, Dr. Lee, spoke up after examining the data. "This is remarkable, but we need physical proof." Lorne produced the biological sample he had taken from the storage facility. "This is plant tissue from pre-transformation Earth. Your scientists can compare it to modern equivalents." Over the next week, Earth's top researchers analyzed the sample. Their findings confirmed the unbelievable truth: Earth had indeed been engineered to be more dangerous. The DNA shows these plants were adapted for a much gentler environment, Dr. Lee reported. "Furthermore, we've identified certain geological features that can only be explained by artificial manipulation. The unusual distribution of heavy metals in Earth's crust, the perfect balance of our magnetic field, even the precise tilt of our axis." News of the discovery spread quickly across Earth, causing shock and outrage. Why would anyone deliberately make their planet more dangerous? Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council, chaos erupted when Lorne publicly presented their evidence. Many species were horrified to learn of this ancient tampering. Others, particularly those from worlds with similar histories, demanded a full investigation. High Counselor Vex, however, demanded that Earth be immediately quarantined. "This information is clearly fabricated," he insisted. "Earth is simply a dangerous death world that somehow produced a violent, aggressive species. They should be contained, not embraced." But Jack had been studying Vex carefully during the emergency session. He noticed something that others might miss. subtle similarities between Vex's species and certain biological markers in the ancient Earth samples. Jack approached Lorne during a recess in the proceedings. "I think I know why Vex is so determined to suppress this information," he whispered. "Run a genetic comparison between his species and the pre-transformation Earth life." Lorne's eyes widened as he processed the results. "This can't be. Vex's people show a 94% genetic similarity to pre-transformation Earth mammals. They're not just similar, they're related." Jack nodded grimly. "I think we've found our gardeners, or at least their descendants, and I think they transformed Earth because they were afraid of what humans might become." As the council session resumed, Jack prepared to confront Vex with their discovery. The truth about Earth was about to change everything. And not everyone wanted that truth to come out. Alarms blared throughout Harmony Station as emergency lights flashed red. Jack raced down the corridor toward the council chambers, Lorne at his side. News had just reached them that Vex had ordered a fleet to Earth, claiming it was a security measure. "It's a blockade," Jack said grimly. "He's trying to isolate Earth before the truth spreads." When they burst into the council chamber, chaos reigned. Representatives from hundreds of worlds argued loudly. The holographic displays showed a fleet of warships already moving toward Earth's solar system. "This is illegal," shouted one council member. No quarantine was authorized by full vote. Vex stood at the center podium, his normally pale skin flushed dark with emotion. "I am acting under emergency powers. Earth represents a unique threat that requires immediate containment." Jack strode forward, his powerful build turning heads as he moved. On a space station filled with beings from low-gravity worlds, his human strength and speed made him impossible to ignore. "The only threat here is the truth you're trying to hide," Jack called out, his voice cutting through the noise. The chamber fell silent as he approached the central platform. Lorne stepped forward, displaying the genetic evidence they had compiled. "We have proof that High Counselor Vex's species shares 94% genetic markers with pre-transformation Earth life. This is beyond coincidence." Gasps and murmurs spread through the chamber. Vex's eyes narrowed dangerously. "These are lies," he hissed. "Fabrications meant to destabilize the council." Jack shook his head. "We retrieved these samples from your own secret archive. The same archive where we found records of how Earth was transformed from a peaceful world into a death world." Jack turned to address the entire council. Earth wasn't always a Class 12 death world. It was deliberately engineered to become one. And we believe Vex's ancestors, the gardeners, were behind it. The chamber erupted again. Many counselors demanded to see the evidence for themselves. "Why?" asked a small, fragile-looking alien near the front. "Why would anyone make a world more dangerous?" Jack looked directly at Vex. "To prevent us from becoming what we were meant to be." Before Vex could respond, the chamber doors burst open again. Rock, Talia, and several other Deathworlder representatives entered. "Earth's fleet has mobilized to defend their system," Rock announced, his stone-like body grinding as he moved. "And our worlds stand with them. We have also found evidence of similar tampering on our homeworlds." Vex's composure cracked. "You don't understand what you're doing. Humans were never supposed to reach the stars. None of you Deathworlders were." The admission silenced the room. Lorne stepped forward, his investigator's training evident as he pressed the advantage. "Tell us the truth, Counselor. What is Earth's real history?" Vex looked around the chamber, seeing that he had lost control of the situation. With a resigned sigh, he activated a holographic display. "Very well. The truth, then." The hologram showed Earth as it once was, a beautiful, gentle world with moderate gravity and stable climate. It then showed early humans beginning to develop tools and language. "Earth was the homeworld of many species, including my ancestors," Vex admitted. "We evolved there, developed early spacefaring technology, and left to colonize other worlds. But we kept watching our birthplace." The hologram shifted to show early humans advancing rapidly. "We saw the potential in humans, their adaptability, their intelligence, their drive to expand and explore. Our scientists predicted that if left in their natural environment, humans would advance faster than any species we had ever seen. Vex's voice grew cold. We couldn't allow that. Humans were too unpredictable, too ambitious, so the decision was made to transform Earth, to make it so challenging that human development would be slowed. They would spend their energy surviving rather than advancing. Jack felt a mix of anger and pride wash over him. But it didn't work, did it? We adapted. We survived everything you threw at us. And now we're here anyway. Vex nodded slowly. Yes. And that terrifies us more than you can imagine. You evolved on a world designed to kill you. What does that say about your species? The council chamber was silent as the implications sank in. Earth wasn't just another Deathworld. It was the original homeworld of many council species, deliberately transformed to hold back humanity. And it had failed. 3 months after the dramatic confrontation in the council chamber, Jack stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. Each vessel carried diplomats, scientists, and curious visitors coming to attend the historic First Species Summit. Quite a view, said Rock, joining Jack by the massive viewport. The stone-like alien's rocky shoulders scraped lightly against the reinforced glass. Jack nodded. I never thought I'd see the day when Earth would be at the center of galactic politics for a good reason. The attempted blockade of Earth had collapsed within days of Vex's confession. Most council species had sided with humanity once they learned the truth. Vex and his closest allies had been removed from power, now facing charges of conspiracy and unauthorized military action. Commander Wilson, a young aide, approached, looking nervous in the presence of 2 Deathworlders. The president is asking for you. The ceremony will begin soon. Jack made his way to the newly renovated Grand Hall, where once the chamber had been designed for the comfort of low-gravity species. Now it contained sections accommodating beings from all types of worlds. The Deathworlders were no longer relegated to the sidelines. President Bell greeted Jack with a firm handshake. Ready for your big moment, Commander. As ready as I'll ever be, Jack replied. The chamber filled quickly. Jack spotted Lorne speaking with a group of investigators, all reviewing data tablets. The evidence they had uncovered had opened floodgates of hidden knowledge. Every day, more information about Earth's true history came to light. When the hall was full, President Bell stepped onto the central platform. The murmur of thousands of different voices faded to silence. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history, Bell began. For too long, knowledge was suppressed and worlds were divided based on fear. Earth was engineered to be a death world to prevent human advancement. Instead, it forged us into a species that could adapt to any challenge. Screens around the hall displayed images of Earth, both as it was now and reconstructions of how it had been before the transformation. We have learned that Earth was once the cradle of many species now spread across the stars, Bell continued. Today, we reclaim that heritage, not with anger or revenge, but with hope for a new beginning. Jack was called forward to present the newly formed Charter of Evolutionary Diversity. The document, crafted by representatives from worlds of all classifications, recognized the value of different evolutionary paths. The very qualities that made Earth species feared, adaptability, resilience, resourcefulness, are now recognized as essential for the future of all galactic life, Jack explained, and the knowledge preserved from ancient Earth will benefit everyone. Scientists had already begun studying the biological samples from pre-transformation Earth. The genetic information they contained promised medical breakthroughs for many species suffering from evolutionary limitations. Earth will not be transformed back to its original state, Jack continued. We have evolved to call our challenging world home, but we will share what we've learned from surviving there. Already, human engineers were helping other species develop adaptive technologies. Human immune system research was revolutionizing medicine across the galaxy. The strength and endurance that had made humans feared now made them valued as partners in exploration and emergency response. After the ceremony, Jack found Talia waiting for him in the reception area. "So, First Ambassador Wilson," she said, her translator conveying a teasing tone. "How does it feel to represent the first species?" Jack smiled. "Strange. A few months ago, I was just a commander trying to understand why aliens found humans so terrifying. Now I'm helping build a new council." "Will you miss the old Earth?" Talia asked. "The one you never knew?" Jack looked out at the stars visible through the station's windows. "Sometimes I wonder about that. But I'm proud of what Earth became and what it made us. We wouldn't be who we are without the challenges." In a secure chamber deep within the station, teams of scientists from dozens of worlds studied the ancient Earth archive. Among its contents, they had discovered something even more remarkable. Evidence that the gardeners themselves had been guided by an even older intelligence. The mystery of life's origins stretched deeper than anyone had imagined. But that was a discovery for another day. Today was for celebrating how far they had all come and the new journey they were beginning together. Earth was no longer just a death world. It was remembered as the birthplace of the stars.